Hi, folks. Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get going, I got to thank a few people that make this program possible. First and foremost, I need to mention that we have incredible, wonderful patrons. And I think I have the wrong banners running. Let me check. Yep, I have the wrong banner going. Patreon.com/the Historical Fencing Guild. I could not purchase or do what I plan to do without their tremendous monthly support. Well, daily support, because I get to talk to most of you. And I know that my Patreon page is often very blank because it feels almost redundant because while you guys support me through that system, I meet most of you through live streams and direct communication. I need to blow up that quite a bit more. It's been an ongoing thing, but I couldn't do it without you. Your names: Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, Bladed Thesis. You check it out. Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, Steve Augusta, Don Dulos, and Angelina Vaquera Link. You guys make what we do possible, and I truly thank you. And it really is we. I am so excited. We are at the point where the temperature is breaking outside. Let's be honest, tax season is coming soon, which means we should get some semblance of a rebate that I can use for some of my necessary upgrades and materials, because the guild's going to be doing some things that are in the works. I am now very excited for. Last week, I showed off the little knife forge. I will be, when the weather settles, which, again, I'm always waiting for the weather to settle, setting up outside and giving that a good crank, and we're going to see if we can't get some small chunks of metal heated up, and I'm going to be doing some stuff with that. I am very, very excited to be engaging in all that. I miss forging dearly. I have some improvised stuff that I've acquired, and I might be acquiring some more. I am plotting, actually, to attempt an outside live stream. It's a very dangerous thing, because I can't have, outside live streams can get demonetized and cut out very easily, because I can't control people driving by and having music blaring or something like that. So it's iffy, but I want to make this work. So we're going to try to make it work. It may be a case of I may just have to get some royalty-free music that I can play to kind of overrun that. We don't know. We're going to see. But I am my first project that I want to really do is a very small, very simple kind of project. And that is just to hammer out some mini swords. And if that goes well, I might just make a bunch of those and send them to my patrons. I think that might be a really good idea if it goes well, and I'd like to do that. I'd also like to try to do some basic hook designs that I can turn into simple riggings for different styles of blade, which means I will have to buy different styles of blade. It's much more expensive than it used to be, but I may do some foil based rigs, and then thread them and stuff. And I might drill out a pommel and throw a pommel and just make a basic maybe almost the easiest would probably be a Spadroon style rig if I were to really think about it. But for that, I need a couple things, and I'm thinking, and some stock. So I'm thinking of getting some brass stock that I can cut and shape for uh, simple guards. I'm thinking of getting some probably mild steel uh, that I can shape, and I'm thinking of getting some. Let's see. I need brass. I need steel in bar stock to both make uh, blades and make miscellaneous things, and maybe railroad spikes. I think I have a few of those. I'd love to make a railroad spike knife. That is actually on uh, my personal bucket list as a metal worker. It's been a long time, so I'm gonna get back into it. It's been a while. Some of my stuff may be a little on the crude side as I am again reemerging, but then I could do things like etch it, make truly practical and potentially beautiful items. Maybe bang out some throwers. That'd be a real good test for me for my blade work, both in making the steel and going back to tempering. So I may make a special, like an Amazon wish list for the guild again, and put out items for that. We'll see. That's one of the big things I am planning to work on in the near future. Um, I also, as you know, I'm the author of The Simple Sword, The Fighting Axe, and Simple Spear, all part of my ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to help you go from having never handled the sword to teaching the art to others. Always promote. Um, as soon as I'm done with Haints and Hellfire, I may just take my notes and start working around it when I'm not working on Haints and Hellfire and get that ping pong effect writing nonfiction and fiction. Sometimes that helps both of them, but I'm going to go all the way back to probably a project that I had to put aside in 2022, the Poor Sword Master's Guide to Arms and Armor. And I don't know if this will be in the sequential historical fencing guild guides, or if it will be um, something parallel, something independent. I'm not sure how I want to approach that, and I will always take you guys' input, but with the costs rising of mundane real world things, having the ability to repurpose, especially for the new practitioner of sword work, new martial arts practitioner, uh, and the you know what, the new martial arts instructor. It can be very daunting because a lot of people have asked me, Nick, aside from the chaos behind me, why don't you have the very fine gear for yourself? And the running joke back in the day, and I heard people say this, was somebody come look for me, and a lot of times they'd look for whoever's running the practice, and they'd go right up to whoever had the best looking armor, and that was never me. And it used to drive Mandy nuts because she made beautiful armor for me, but my gear was never the new expensive swords. There was always wear and tear on my blades, things like that. Uh, That's because I always came into this as an instructor. And when you are an instructor, and this is good advice for anyone who's doing instructions with weapons, you need more impact-resistant armor. You need heavier protective armor than a normal fighter fighting normal fighters. Because when you are starting, one thing you have to understand is new fighters, no matter how much practice they've had, and practice happens, you should be doing exercises in calibration, but they are going to have calibration issues. Now, in modern fencing, it's much less an issue because the weapons absorb tremendous amounts of force. I do hold to my rather spicy take that, especially as I age, that the vast majority of modern fencing, especially at the high end, is actually a type of whip more than a sword. And I say this because at the high end, when you look at the professional, Olympic grade fencers and those pursuing it, they are tailoring the weapon's abilities to what they do. And especially in something like saber, actually in the big three, saber, epee, and foil, the flexibility of the weapon lends itself to arcing attacks. So the shot comes out and there's a lot of snap at the wrist, and the very flexible blade does whatever it's doing and arcs around. And it's beautiful, and I love fencing. I am not denigrating modern sports fencing. It's an incredible sport. It is an incredible game of physical chess. But I do believe it has evolved very far from its original purposes. And I am definitely a proponent for a secondary league using and it would make the most sense to start with saber, heavier saber blades with much less flex, because I think that would be truer to the sport and more, God, I hate to use the word authentic, but everything I try to teach when I take the approach to Western martial arts is from a perspective of practicality first, okay? And it's practicality. It goes safety, practicality in form, and fun. Okay, you know what? Fun in form, practicality in function, possibly. I'm still trying to piece together how I'll say this. Which is why I'm tweaking some things. I have a lot that's kind of up in the air, and I'm really excited about it. But to get into what I do, I never want to give you more training scars than necessary. And a training scar in this case is not a visual scar, but a habit that you have picked up that you picked up in training that doesn't apply to the actual application. The worst versions are those tricks that have been picked up and techniques that are geared towards math, towards gaming the point systems. So in certain systems, you get points for body shots, headshots, body shots, arm shots are all scaled differently. The situation with that is that it reflexively teaches the body sometimes, to both be overbold and to be much more willing towards sacrificial actions. If you throw your arm up and you get stabbed in the arm, but that lets you kill the other guy, floating quotes for now, in a game like Society's fencing rules, as of what I've been familiar with, I may see if they've done any rules updates since the last time I looked for the Middle Kingdom. This is what I recall of many years, and I do occasionally keep up on the rules. That's acceptable because usually you get your arm back between bouts and stuff because, yay, it's fun. And the majority of fencing is presented as a duel first. So it's that one-on-one gentlemanly duel. A lot of that has a very feeling of forced engagement for me. Limited movement because of smallest field sizes. Obviously, limited terrain options for defense and offense because of safety issues. And again, the aforementioned limits. It forces a very specific style. And I mean, if you go farther, you go into Olympic fencing, it's much narrower. You have very linear. So it forces certain styles of footwork. It forces certain styles of rhythm. The parry riposte, parry riposte, parry riposte, parry riposte beat. Now, what they do is amazing. The precision and speed. The fastest thing that isn't a firearm in the Olympics is the tip of a fencing foil. The fastest thing to track. The level of perception it takes. Precise. But again, I've seen very, very, very few edged weapons that behave like foils. The closest I can get that springs to my mind would be something like a very stiff irumi, a flexible shoot. It's from, I want to say it's Southeast Asia. Where is it? I'll look it up again. It's been a while. But they're essentially whip swords. And they're insane. But, one, their buckler game is really good. And two, their ranges of blade control have to be fabulous because they're literally swinging steel ribbons around, sharpened steel ribbons than what I would consider a blade. Because for me, the true definition of a sword blade has to include mostly holds its form. You know, a blade should have sizable bend potential in it. Uh, the test that you saw them use for Wilkinson sabers, for example, the flexibility test is heart wrenching to watch. But if you're going to fence, I really feel you need a real, and you're pursuing it from a defensive category, a practical mindset. You need to understand fighting against groups and as part of groups, which is very different fighting than fighting single. One-on-one is a whole different ballpark, and understanding how to use multiple uh, uh, multiple obstacles in terrain, understanding how to use larger area to gain the advantage. When I was mobile, I was very much if I were to take oh god, let's look at that. The style I learned from my my original swordmaster and tweaked and understood, being what was lovingly referred to as golden fiddler crab style, which is a jest, but like all true great jests, has some small amount of truth in it. My own take on that would be much closer to crawdad fighting style, if we were going to go, wherein you're either right in their shorts doing everything, or you're backing up at extreme speed. And when I was mobile, I could, on a flat field, basically skate backwards around. It was the strangest thing. If I had enough space, and especially if I had a single opponent, I would skate backwards. I'd fight enough to just sort of that backdash, like you find in a video game. And that would allow me to change the range rapidly. And the goal is to backdash until they overextend. Now, one thing I did, and I got this from my original sword instructor, who I shall not name, but you get about 2.5, 3 steps backwards faster than people going forward. Don't know why, but that's how it works. It's a body mechanics thing. So it is important to understand that. And there's a magic point somewhere between about the first step and a half when you're retreating while still engaged, that you can catch them at the point. There is a lurch when you are reacting as an advancement. So if you're advancing and you are reacting, you move slightly different than you when you're advancing and you're acting. What do I mean? When you choose to, I'm going to move forward, there is a smoothness because your body knows what it's doing. You're coming forward. You expect it. If you ever feel yourself being able to think, poop, I need to do this, that poop moment, your body will start to lurch, but you're not really controlling it if you are reacting. And in that realm is a point where your balance is thrown off and your brain has to focus more on just maintaining the balance and getting the inertia to stay upright. And in that moment, there's often a gap, especially if they're dual wielding. Because I love dual wielding. I love fighting with something in my other hand. Sword and dagger will always be my bread and butter, my joy, my love. Sword and dagger is home to me. Much like sword and buckler is home for Trelana. But it still takes more external brain power to power it. Single, while not my favorite, by necessity has to be the most studied. And you need to be going into it I'm going to say this, barring disability, to be ambidextrous. And regrettably, with disability, you still want to get that hand as useful as possible if it's useful. And I hate to put it that way, but I know it's like to lose the use of a hand and have it not do what you're telling it to. I took a hard shot, a week ago, too, and the bruise is just now thinking of coming up. It was a doozy. I got hit with a defensive device that we usually don't hit with at that style of training. So this arm is considerably weaker than it normally is. But I require it, so it works. You do what you can with what you got. But you need to actually find out what you can do with what you got. So if you're fighting single, you need, especially if your blade transfers are something you can't do. If you can't switch hands with the blade because of situation, you will be at a tremendous disadvantage in practical land. Practical land is where this goofy little trainer lives, and that's why it's always on my desk. This trainer is something I made partially out of some scrap and partially because I needed. Actually, no. This one was one of the first trainers I made out of the HDP, and I honestly can't remember. I think I shaped this one very deliberately, but because no one makes, and to this day, I think I've only seen one dedicated cooking knife trainer. And it baffles me. It absolutely baffles me. But why do I say have a cooking knife trainer? And what does that have to do with the sword and such? This is this is about, I want to say, 8-inch blade. Yeah, that looks to be about 8 inches. This is what somebody hears a bump in the middle of the night. One of the first things they do is if they get to the kitchen, they go to the knife block, shink. Or if you're up late at night and you hear a bump while you're watching movies or whatever, people go to their knife block, shink, they pull out a kitchen knife. So my logic is, if you are going to use a kitchen knife as a home defense tool, train with it. Understand how it works, what it can and can't do, what it's good for and not. And if possible, avoid reverse grip. Just stabby. Just don't. not as a basic emergency style. Okay. But if I'm dealing with somebody and I have a knife and this hand is disabled, the world is much better if I can switch to this hand. This is where you can actually get great instruction when you start looking into modern firearms and room clearing exercises. Nick, wait. The Historical Fencing Guild's talking about firearm instruction. Yes. Not necessarily in the art of applying the freedom dispenser, but in the art of situational awareness and situational and tactical assessment. What do I mean? Room clearing exercises. If you get a chance, look up and study the YouTube videos put out by military people. I want to say a gentleman named who goes by the handle of Grand Thumb has some really neat one-man tactical videos, to give you strategy to apply the tactics to survive. Now, again, I'm not looking at this for firearm use, except perhaps upping my Nerf game. I'm not a big gun guy. I'm not saying I can't make them go, but I'm not a big gun guy. I am, however, saying that learning how to slice up a room, perceive threats, how to clear a corner is a very good idea, because if you have the knife, you still have to peek, understand where your blind spots are, how you're going to get through what they call the fatal funnel, which is where people have to go through the doorways, and to know not to dawdle in a doorway, because there's a natural instinction. We want to pause there because that is a transition point, and if we don't want to be in that room, many times we'll walk in. There's almost this force field that we project where we stop before we go into a room, and think of it as any stressor. You're going into a dance and you're nervous. Well, maybe you remember that from being a high schooler. Clearing a room, you have the temptation to do the same thing in a engagement where there may be a threat in that room. So you need to figure out where people are and how people think. It makes for a very, very, very aggressive form of tag and hide and seek. But you need to think that. Now, if you think of where you are, most people, the vast majority of time, end up the same places the vast majority of time. The travel patterns of anyone are rather predictable. So evaluation is very predictable. And that means you should take the advantage that gives you, and sometime while you're at work, or your place of employment where you're most likely to be, analyze the threats. If a bad guy comes through the front door, where am I going? If a bad guy comes through the back door, where am I going? If there's a bad guy in the building, where am I going? And I try to incorporate that style of thinking, pulling it all the way back through the shenanigans into my approach of teaching how to fence, how to sword fight, because I want you guys to not develop something that could hurt you later. This is a big reason why I don't like the Olympic lunges. I don't like those extreme. I mean, they're beautiful. And for the sport, they're exquisite. It is poetry in motion. But if you are going against multiple opponents, lunges like that will get you poked a whole lot. So we need to keep that in mind. I am trying, and just as the simple sword took me 15 years to write, what I'm working on now, which is the other side of the Swordmaster's Guide to Arms and Armor, is that. And I don't even have a title for it. That's part of why it's so hard for me. Taking all that side of things and balling it so that it can be applied to what we do, so we can still train with the fun and elegance of being a swordsman, and then engage also in a very practical way. Just like when facilities shift around, I eventually want to get some type of wrestling mat or tumbling mat, so the people who are physically up to it can engage in what I would call more mixed sparring, where weapons and hand-to-hand can be engaged. Because that was taught. You were expected to know how to wrestle before you got into it. That was the kind of thing you would learn at home from your father, usually. I don't want to be too binary about gender roles, but this is historic gender roles. And I fully admit the exceptions, and I've written papers on the exceptions. But traditionally, father would teach son and daughter how to deal with the physicality. Usually far more heavily instruction of the son, because that was more likely to be a potential source of employment or a source of survival where they conscripted into any acting military. And you were expected to be trained in the styles presented. So the styles of the period. It's only now when we're going back as historical reenactors, recreationists, and students that people are able to, and I love doing it, pick between periods and locations across a dramatic spread of time. In any other period, when you are really learning this, aside from a basic form of fencing in the round, ironically, that hasn't changed very much, couple forms, you would be, this is how you fight. And how you fight is the fighting of your period. And the easiest way I can give you a parallel to that is if you think of movies, okay, American action movies, not martial arts movies necessarily, but American action movies. The type of fighting represented in an American action movie is very, very based on what is accepted in the period. So if you're watching the hand-to-hand exchanges in a John Wayne Western, you're going to see just the big old punches. Ironically, if you watch McClintock, one thing I love is there is actually, McClintock is a fun, lighthearted movie, but there's a series of brawls throughout this film, and one of them has a guy, one of the main characters, is getting into a fight because a little guy is getting picked on by a big guy and he didn't like it. But he fights in the very period style pugilism with the backhand guard. Bonk, bonk, bonk. You know, think of the fighting Irish mascot of Notre Dame University. That put them up, yeah. It's radically different than if you look at the hand-to-hand combat, say, Rambo was engaged in, or any of the martial arts movies. We go through a period where, for a while, kung fu was very kung fu. We'll say generic kung fu, because I know this is going to hurt Thesis' soul, but we're looking at things like the Kung Fu TV series. Then you see things like the golden era of TV martial arts fighting, where you're watching Bruce Lee choreograph Bruce Lee fights. And then I say golden era because you could watch Bruce Lee and how much it hurt his soul to lose as Kato. Because he's going through, but there's always this sense in his body language of, oh yeah, I could totally destroy that. And you could almost see the micro, I really want to just take the opening that he's actually doing and deal with it. But that then was like the 80s. And if it was an 80s fighting, the mystical art of karate. And karate was everywhere. And then you went to what we consider BJJ. Not BJJ. MMA, mixed martial arts, became for the newer movies. And you'd see, BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, maybe Judo, catch wrestling, something like that. Just straight up kickboxing, pop, pop, pop. Or regular boxing, pop, pop, pop. So I've even seen Taekwondo, Taekwondo is one of those where a lot of people learn it as a little kid, and they kind of have this parallel level to the people who actually learn and practice it. It's interesting. But you can watch a movie, and like modern fighting has a lot of very tight BJJ stuff. It has a lot of Krav Maga is very popular, and integrating those two together to get that martial style. And I say this to as a microcosm that you guys can see as a sort of metaphor for history. So if you watch someone fight, you can go, oh, they're fighting Agrippa, or oh, they're fighting this style. It actually is something people can do. The Princess Blade was not only right, the Princess Blade. Wow! The Princess Bride! The Princess Bride was right during the Dread Pirate Roberts / Wesley Indigo fight at the Cliffs. Still one of the greatest fencing exchanges ever filmed. When they're prattling off, there's a lot of truth in what's actually being said. It's kind of neat. I saw a good breakdown of that. But even then, they're picking through the past periods and going, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. That's interesting. I find it fascinating. So, what does that mean to us? We need to understand the most likely approach of what's most likely being instructed now. And because, while it is still present and available, at least to Americans, the internet is a tremendous resource if you know how to search. And just like we take the historical methods of physical combat and analyze them and pick what we like. We need to look at what's being used modern, if not from the perspective of, if not just from the perspective of it's more skills to acquire, but that gives us more what we're likely to engage against in a self-defense mindset. This is why I will never nail down to a specific historical period. I have my preferences because that's what I've studied the most. And I have my preferences on geographical periods, obvious areas. But what we need to find is we need to also be aware of current events, the current approach to engagement, and what we can learn from it. And if we educate ourselves, we can start to determine the difference of fad from function and integrate it into what we do. Now, I've gone a long time, and I want to apologize. I had a lot of thoughts brewing on what I wanted to talk about today. So you guys kind of got a stream of thought episode. I'm going to go into the chat because I actually didn't turn the chat on. I needed to get through what I was thinking about. And then from there, I will gladly answer your questions and address anything that has come up in the chat. Please don't take the neglect and the neglect of going first thing, which I usually do. I had so much my format got scrambled. I was excited. I actually got sleep too, which is miraculous. But first through the door was Thesis Evening All and Foxy Evening. Take a boombox outside and play dance stuff. That's literally something I'm considering doing. However, there's a problem with that. When you have music playing, it greatly affects how people fight, because people will fight to the tune of the music a lot. People will, especially people who are musically trained, will innately start to fall in rhythm with the music presented. Ask Trelena how she got her eyeshadow palette, if you don't know. But that might be a great way to do it. Happy spring. Happy spring. It is indeed spring. Spring has sprung, and I am so happy for it. Hello, Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Wind is blowing hard enough to blow the stripes off a zebra. Yeah, the pressure changes and stuff finally caught up with my exhaustion, and I crashed today. I did. I got up, got ready, did my morning show, and I was going to go on my errands because I had a doctor's visit, and the doctor called and said, I'm sorry, due to whatever, we have to cancel today's appointment. Okay. Now my whole reason for going out went away, and it just caused the exhaustion I'd been carrying to all hit at once. So I got off my show, talked briefly with my wife, downed a little meal shake thing, and I crashed. And I literally woke up about 6 minutes before this stream in catch-up. The worst part is I could probably go to bed. But the weather will do that to me too. And check out the Historical Fencing Guild tonight, 7 p.m., which is now and a little later. And you can watch all of them at the Historical Fencing Guild. Please subscribe and support through the Patreon. Thank you, guys. Seriously. Hey, Kitty. How are you doing? How's Ruby doing? Like I said, I am sorry I got out in the chat. And I know there's been a lot of focus on Ruby, which is awesome because Ruby is an amazing person. And I love hearing about her growth and progress. But I also want to know, how are you doing? Are you finding you're growing in your dart styles? Do you find you've stagnated? I want to know about your progress because it's fascinating to me. And unfortunately, many of you I don't have the option to see, um, because without being able to see you guys, I can't fully diagnose things. But I find it fascinating. One of these days, I do hope you get into a position where you can either do a demonstration for us that we could, uh, a pre-recorded demonstration that I could possibly upload and stream, or come in conversationally. I'd like to set up more interaction. We've had a lot of talky talk videos, which happened during certain parts of the winter, but I would like very much to see, from a purely selfish, just someone who loves to watch martial artists in action, some videos of what you do. And of course, if you're uncomfortable with that, no problem. This is not a pressure thing at all. I don't want you to think that. But it is something that, from my personal just tendencies, I would be fascinated to watch a demonstration of your rope dart. Check Nick's art out at deviantart.com. I know I need to upload more. I have to do a lot with DA. You need Nick's books, especially if you want to make swords, spears, or axes go. Thank you. And the people who buy my books, please write an honest review. Throw some stars up there and tell me what you think about them. Not only do reviews help me make better books later, they also help Amazon recognize that my books are interesting and promote them, which helps me to get more, which gets me more money to do things like I like, which involves making weapons and making trainers and everything I do. It all just starts well. And it's a way that, if you've acquired my books or if you've read them through borrow or loan, please give a review on them. I'd be very, very appreciative. And if you haven't, consider buying them. If you are, I know right now some people are opposed to Amazon, and I understand that. You have a rare opportunity. If you have a Kindle Unlimited, it is possible for you to make Amazon lose money by reading a great many books on Kindle Unlimited, because they get the authors get paid for Kindle Unlimited by their page rate, which is very, very small. It's a few cents per page, but it is a page rate. And Amazon isn't getting any more money for it because they're banking on the people having paid for the service and then not using it. So what you can do is, if you have Kindle Unlimited, and especially if you want to purchase an ebook, read it on Kindle Unlimited first, and then purchase the ebook, and you don't pay any extra, but the author gets paid twice or thrice if you buy the hard copy. I also do encourage you right now, especially, to acquire hard copies of anything you love, because it really matters. And we are getting into an era where the ease in which you can edit and change digital images and digital content and remove digital images and digital content is so easy that it's very important to have hard copies. Books are vital. And not just mine. Also, get stuff, get paid. If you use this, this is my affiliate link for Purple Heart Armory. I get, I want to say 1% or 2%, it might be 3%. It's some very small percentage of any sale that is made using that. So please do. Hey, Kitty. And Ruby may not be around for a bit. Nothing too serious, but something happened that rattled her for a bit. That's okay. And Ruby, if you're doing the lurking, just watching the video and not commenting, that is okay too. If you're watching this in the future, please take care of yourself. I hope you recover from whatever's going on, be it psychological, mental, physical, or all of the above. If there's a way to help, please let me know. And I know you don't feel comfortable engaging with men, but please reach out to Trelena, because she is far more versed on far more aspects of life and students than most people would realize. And we'll be here for you, Ruby, however long it takes, because that's what we do here. Fair enough. Give her a hug for us. And Thesis says it's totally understandable. And bummer. And good evening, Dawn. I hope you're having a good one. Okay. And everybody was kung fu fighting. Hey, Al. How are you doing, sir? And I'm doing good with my dart training. I drill daily with my trainer, and I will take the steel version outside to do some practice as well. That is incredible. I'm very glad you're doing it, and I am glad to hear it. My friend, I am truly glad to hear it. Give me just a moment. I have to acquire something. Because I do have an announcement that is somewhat local, but may be of interest to this group. So I have to go through my Facebook to acquire it. But if you are in Indiana or Illinois, here we go. Come on. I need to go. Okay. There wasn't a link in there. Armored. Oh, there we go. That's why it typoed. Armored M. Yep. Link on my hand. I'll put this link in the chat. Copy. Paste. Now, a group that some of my old friends are involved in are doing a fight night at the Hammond Civic Center in Hammond, Indiana, April 12th. It is literally medieval cage fighting. It is literally people in full armor wailing on each other with swords and hand-to-hand combat. I really encourage any of you to, if you can't, just watch the videos, go to something like this and watch the fighting. If you have a chance, go to a Bohurt tourney or local SCA fights. And the reason I say this is I want you guys to visually see and come as close to experiencing the mobility, especially, of someone in full armor and the impact of the blows for purposes of recoil analysis and just understanding how aggressive it can be, and how necessary it is to deal with armor, because many of you guys are writers. I'm getting there. I am getting there. And then compare that with the Open USA fencing tourneys, because I do want you guys to watch and participate in modern Olympic fencing. I have said my thoughts on the excessive flexibility of the weapons, but watch it. It's fascinating, especially if you're creating media. You're creating media. There is no excuse to have bad sword fighting, or annoyingly implausible sword fighting, unless you're doing that as a fantasy piece or a superpowered piece. When you can go and you can understand this stuff, you can watch it, you can participate, you can learn. Always write about what you know. And I know this bleeds over to my other show, but Al made a very good point in bringing that up. So I want to get there. And while I'm getting there, Cindy, drop the link for that book, please. Now, I put up the link for the information on the Chicago area armored MMA. That was sent to me by Stephen Hatt. Both he and his wife, Amanda, whom I love, you guys. It's been years since I've seen you, but I do love you. Reach out. Maybe I might reach out to them and see if I can't get them to do a live stream discussion or demonstration. That sounds delightful. But that's the link for them. Thesis had a bit of nostalgia earlier because he went to his local community college. It's been a while since they redesigned the campus. I found that the building where we used to have Kung Fu Tai Chi classes was completely gone. Made me sad to see. That's fascinating. And that does happen. That's part of aging, is watching the old stomping grounds transform. And Cindy says, my adventures in learning saber continue. I have the form fully mapped out. Now I'm working with my teachers to tidy it up considerably. Exquisite. Likewise, my other competition forms are getting a lot of practice too. Wonderful. And or your local USA fencing tourney, cough cough. I know. I'll be honest, I am drilling every day to try to get back into standard fighting form. I don't know if I will be able to both afford and perform for such a thing, but I still may try. My most recent published book has very much swordsmanship, and I will admit, for the purpose of Al, I am terrified because I have so many fencing scars, training scars of the styles I fought, that right of way is really, really difficult, and I don't have anyone to train or spar against who has a history in strip fencing near me. I may have to reach out and make new friends with all the time that I have, but we'll see. I haven't written it off yet. My most recent published book has very much swordsmanship. Okay, and thank you. We have a new Twitch bot, which I always appreciate the interaction. I'm currently scrambling like a crazy fool to get a new type of dragon finished. If it works, it will be highly amusing. I'm based on a pattern I've done before, but needs much tweaking. Interesting. And the college wanted to focus much more on academics, so the fun classes went bye-bye. I see. I would say go epee instead. No right-of-way. Or invite me down there. First off, as soon as the list field and stuff is open, I will gladly have you down. I'm just waiting for the weather and the facilities, that is, faculties. No, the faculties too, because I need mine. But anytime we are having practices, you have an open invite. Excellent. Because I would like to get informed and see, honestly, if my knees will hold up to the more extended style of epee. Epee might work. I'm sorry, what you guys are seeing is a long conversation Alice had with me. And he actually challenged me to try to register and get evaluated, I think. It's not authorized. The wrong terms are coming to mind for to get ranked in the U.S. Fencing Association. Rating. Thank you. Get my rating. And it is very tempting for me because if it works, it would be very enjoyable and it would involve a lot less impact on my body. But I still have to get cleared with my occupational therapist, my physical therapist, and my doctor in general, which I'm still working on. I'll do it this way. I would never have injuries or limitations that I'm not talking about because I plan to have them addressed before anyone can see them. No, but yes, I'm excited. And the slight delight you saw was, wait, arm sniping comes back? I love arm sniping. So we will see. And thank you. If you have a recommended retailer for sport fencing equipment, because I have never fought with electric gear. And I need, if I have to acquire gear, which I will have to acquire, I need to get it both as cheaply as possible, but as proper as possible, and it needs to be electric compatible. I've never done that, and I realize that's really something that will be good for me to try. So thank you, Al. I do appreciate the challenge. And I recently learned the sword fight. I am dual. It is so cool that you are learning dual saber. That is beautiful. Outside, yeah. We will see, and I look forward to seeing your progress. It's going to be great. I am also curious because I know that they have modern fencing daggers. I've seen them. And I know they have electric modern fencing. Nick, if this is something you haven't figured out, if you're going to an event, I'll be there too, so you can always borrow my electric plugs and swords, at least for your start. Thank you. I never, ever presume. So thank you, Al. And with that, guys, I am actually 10 minutes over my hour, and due to me sleeping in, I actually didn't get my 8 o'clocks. So what I'm going to say is thank you so much. I hope this has been an educational and entertaining video. As things progress, I will be hating the fact that I'm working on footwork, but it will help. The more extended footwork will help with my physical therapy. And new things are coming. Expect more from the creative side of forging and such as soon as that's set up. And we'll see you all. Go eat, Nick. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. Do your drills. Keep your guard up. Be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, thank you for supporting your local swordmaster. I will, at minimum, be back next week with another episode of the Historical Fencing Guild's live stream. And I'm sorry, that's just cute. The other intermediate student didn't realize, said she didn't realize how little I am until we heard a picture together. That's adorable. I'm sorry, that's nice. But bye. We'll see.